Please take a seat and welcome to this third session on financing energy efficiency in public assets. This afternoon, so I'm very pleased to welcome two speakers from Italy who will present the 2020 Together project. And it's a follow-up as an Interreg project. I'm Christophe Milin from EASME. EASME is the agency from the executive agency in charge of the energy efficiency part of Horizon 2020. EASME is also in charge of the climate action part of Horizon 2020 and of the LIFE program. You will find actually more information on EASME at our stand just next door with the stands. And you can have information on what we do and also what you can do with us with information on the upcoming calls for proposal that will be expected by September this year. So to start with, let me introduce you Soilvio de Nigris, who formerly worked at the energy unit in the metropolitan city of Torino, and is now working at the region Piemonte, also on energy, and his colleague Stefano Dotta, who work at Environment Park as energy manager, and they are both involved in the 2020 Together project, and now which is now finalized since last year. And since 2016, today they are also involved in the follow-up they will also present, which is called Stepping Med project. So,
thank you very much, Christophe, for the introduction, and thank you. Hello, everybody. Okay, so as planned, we are going to present 2020 Together project, which is a project which is now over and was finished last year. And it was a project financed by the former Intelligent Energy for Europe program. And the project involved several institutions in the region which I'm representing, which is Piemonte region, is in the north part of Italy, northwest part, close to the border with France. So the consortium was formed by the Piemonte region, the metropolitan city of Torino, which is the province, let me say, and the capital city of Torino, and the Environment Park, which is a scientific technological part settled in Torino, and was the technical part of the consortium. The project aimed to promote the renovation of energy of public buildings and street lighting using APC and third-party financing. This was the general goal of the project. We had some challenging targets to reach. You have some key performance indicators. We plan to have about less than 10 million euro of investment in energy efficiency with a leverage factor of 19, and at the end we had to implement more investment than planned in order to reach the target set for energy savings and CO2 emissions. So at the end we delivered something like 12 million of euro of investment in energy efficiency with a leverage factor of 25, and okay, we are very proud of it, of course. So how we implemented the project? We had we can say 3 pillars. The first one was a large investment implemented in the capital city of Torino, which affected more than 100 buildings owned by the city itself. And here we made the complete renovation of the heating systems of these buildings using APC and involving the energy utility of the of the city, and let me say this is the less innovative part of the project, because it was a pooling of quite a large number of buildings, and the innovative part was the type of contract which is for sure new in Italy and Torino, the APC. But the most innovative part of the project are point 2 and 3, which is the bundling approach, supporting small and medium municipalities. So these municipalities were not part of the consortium of the project, but we can say they were a beneficiary of the activities implemented by the region, the province, and the other partners. And so my presentation is going to focus on point 2. I will show you, and Stefano as well, the bundling approach and the financial condition that are in this investment, which where we achieved the 3 million of investment for the refurbishment of public buildings. So, starting from the bundling approach, what have we done and how we managed it? So, generally speaking, if we have several municipalities, each one with a different building stock in their ownership, what we did is to collect energy data from the interested municipalities, and we did it inside the framework of the Covenant of Majors. At the time being, we had about 60 municipalities who signed the Covenant of Major, and with them we, the metropolitan city and the region, we supported them in the developing and drafting of CIAPs. And so we started from that sample of municipalities. We made a call for interest, and we received some feedback. So we started with a simple collection of energy data from them, and then we picked up some buildings belonging to several municipalities. So we didn't bundle together all the building stock owned by the municipalities, but we only selected the most profitable, let me say, for ESCO. We selected a few ones, and the overall of the selected buildings were bundled together, and a joint procurement procedures was launched just for this sample of buildings. So let me deliver to you some tips, small tips about this bundling approach. What is, in my opinion, very important is that, okay, as I didn't say it, but we signed a binding agreement among each municipality and the contracting authority, which was in charge of the metropolitan city. And what is important, in my point of view, to let you know and remark that is that this agreement should be bilaterally. So it is an agreement between each municipality and the contracting authority, and not for the whole municipality involved together, because the process is quite long, from the starting point to the launch of the tender and the sign of the contract. And as it happened, we lost some municipalities on the way, because they changed this decision, the people changed, the staff, and so the reassignment of one municipality don't have to affect the overall sustainability of the project. And this is the first tip. Another one is that the agreement, in my opinion, should fix as much as possible certain deadlines to be implemented with the obligation and liabilities among the parties. And this is in a way lessons learned, because in our approach we kept it a little bit open. And at the end, there was no formal obligation in delivering and respecting time and deadlines. We were successful, but okay, we had to face several problems, as always in the project. So it could help if the parties feel themselves bound to deadlines, certain deadlines. And then it is also important that there is a common interest on the ground between contracting authority and beneficiary municipalities. because okay, there should be a common interest on the ground, and each party should be able to influence each other. I think the coordination and the support action is very important here, and it's not only one part that should push the project. All together have to work, and if someone is a little bit slower and doesn't make their own work, this could be a problem. So there should be the possibility to influence each other, and I think in this way to involve policymakers and establish some common interest ground is very important. And then about technical point of view, what is important is that the sample of buildings must be interesting for the ESCO. So we have to put together buildings that have not other constraints. Which means that there shouldn't be architectural constraints or management contracts in place that could affect the implementation of the project. So this is something that easy task that should be taken into account from the beginning. And then each building should be of interest of the ESCO. This is what we did, but okay, you can pick very profitable buildings with other which are less, but overall some of the buildings should be of interest. So if we make a general example, if we have a number of buildings selected, and some have higher consumption and respect the others. Okay, generally speaking, we can go in the yellow boxes to select buildings, and maybe the white one we can keep it away because they are not very interesting. But in this way, you can also keep in the bundling some buildings that alone they wouldn't be interesting for ESCO, but because they joined common procedures, they become also interesting. Okay, so let me show with picture the tendering procedure that we launched. As I said, there is a bilateral agreement among each involved municipality to the contracting authority, and this gives the possibility to implement a joint procurement procedure. That's what we did. With the joint procurement, we selected the ESCO, private investors, which signed a framework contract with the contracting authority, and then one contract, one APC contract, really APC contract, which each municipality involved in the process. So as you can see, there is quite a big administrative burden behind, because there are a lot of contracts to be signed among the parties. And from a financial point of view, what we did is quite easy model, because we left the ESCO alone, let me say. We didn't provide any equity, any financial provision, and the ESCO was asked to find this money on the market, and also had the possibility to access to other general public funding. We will say something later on about that. And then we asked that the ESCO would invest on each building. So as I said, there are several buildings belonging to several municipalities, and what we did is, since we make this pre-selection of buildings, we asked the ESCO to implement refurbishment work on each of the building of the sample. This was a peculiarity of our project in respect to other examples that were implemented in Italy in the same period. And then, based on the investment implemented and the saving achieved, of course, there's the payment of a fee. This fee is calculated, on the other hand, at the municipal level. And then there is the check of the performance and the verification of the performance, which is a key task in the APC. And this is done with the help of an external auditor, which is selected by the contracting authority, but is paid by the ESCO itself. So there is no direct flow of money from the ESCO to the external auditor, which is selected and contracted with an open call by the contracting authority. But okay, is the ESCO in charge of paying the auditor itself, and the performance is checked at municipal level. So this is generally the scheme and the model from administrative and financial point of view. I will give the floor to my colleague Stefano for some technical part, and we go into detail for the results. Yeah?
About the technical part, for each building selected, energy audit was carried out according to the methodology that is described under the European standard norm, and of course we had used a software tool in order to define the energy needs for each buildings, and using the energy tool software, we have validate, this is a crucial point, we have validate the result of the energy need using the software, compare this result with the real energy consumption measured by the meter that are installed in the buildings. And thanks to the result of the energy audit, was possible to define the condition of the EPC contract and the condition of the tenders as well, and the condition were the duration of the contract, the minimum energy saving required, the minimum cost saving required, and the minimum investment required also. And this is a very important phase of the project, because we have to find a balance between private and public interest in order to make a tender attractive for ESCO, but also for public authority. And another point that is, according to us, is very important is this kind of scheme. About what happened when the ESCO obtain an extra saving or extra consumption. So the contract of the energy performance contract have to define what happened in this case, and if in our case, if the ESCO have an extra consumption, this is a loss for the ESCO itself, and the ESCO have to pay the more energy bill. When we have an extra saving, this extra saving is shared between ESCO and public authority, and according to our contract, this extra saving is shared with the 2%, 30% for public authority and 70% for the ESCO. So this is really important. Then it's really important to define with a transparency methodology the saving, and for that we have attached to the contract a document that define it is a sort of plan for the verification and monitoring of the performance, that in our case the performance is the energy saving, and we have defined a document according to the methodology of an international protocol realized by a United States authority that is called EVO. And so inside to this document we required the creation of a monitoring commission, and the monitoring commission is composed by 3 members. One members are 3 experts of energy management, so one from ESCO and one from public authority. Then will be selected an external expert by the metropolitan city, and for each member of the commission have a different activity to do at the end of the year. And for example, the ESCO expert have to collect data by the energy data for the meter, and the internal public authority expert have to verify the volume or the uses of the building, and the third expert have to calculate the energy saving with the adjustment and normalization that are defined inside to the document. About the building that we had selected are 18 buildings. The municipality are the owner of this building, so we have selected 16 building, 16 school, one city hall, and one gym. All of these buildings represent a usual kind of building that is possible to find in our region, and all was realized, built before to the 18 years of the last century. The energy audit define also the base energy and cost baseline, and these 18 buildings have had average consumption of gas methane around the 500,000 cubic meter of gas, and they have also, they produce a cost for the public authority that is around to 500,000 euro for a year, and this is the baseline cost for all of these 18 buildings. Thanks to this baseline, and thanks to the result of the audit, and thanks to the result of a simulation of a business plan, was possible to define the minimum performance required for the call for tender, and for each municipality were defined different target of energy saving and different minimum investment value. And about the energy saving, we have required a minimum of 13% to the 40% for another municipality. The total amount of investment of the call of tender was 1,800,000 euro, and the total amount of the service was more than around 5.5 million euro.
Yes, and these were the baselines, of course, but then we launched the tender, and we had much better results, let me say. And so the refurbishment of the 18 buildings have been implemented with a guaranteed savings of 60%, according to an average value of 24%, and the investment were increased up to 2.5 million euro plus VAT. So the offer of the market was far above the threshold fixed in the call for tender. And generally speaking, about the intervention, as I said, all the buildings had to be renovated, and so each of the 18 buildings are going to are receiving, because the works are happening nowadays, the renovation of the space heating system and the management system. This means installation of thermostatic valves, new management and change of the boilers. But we have also 13 of them that will receive an intervention in the envelope with the insulation of walls and roof. And then 6 of them will also receive benefit from the change of windows, partially or totally on the building, and 2 of them will be classified nearly zero energy buildings. So this is really unexpected results from our side, which was due to a very good offer delivered by the ESCO, and maybe also for the evaluation criteria that were set in the tender. And okay, this is just few data about the revenues and the cost of the offer.
Yes, it is, is a number that we have taken by the business plan that of the ESCO winner the tender, and the revenue for the ESCO is around to 6 million and a half, and is composed by two different revenue. One comes from the fee, around 5 million of euro, and but the ESCO have the possibility to add another revenue that comes from a national program for energy efficiency. That is a sort of subsidy that is a specific subsidy for the energy efficiency for public building. So to this that is called conto termico, and this kind of program is the public authority can ask money, but also the ESCO that work on the energy efficiency for public building can also have subsidy. And so for that, this help all the scheme, because around the 23% of the revenue come from this national program for energy efficiency. And for that, it's possible to have in Italy contract with a duration between 10 and 15 years. About the cost, we have 5 million and 800,000 euro during all the contract, and the ESCO will be an operative cost for investment, energy, operation and maintenance, and contract management. But then they also will have indirect cost that was divided for financial cost and tax. About the economic and financial analysis, according to the business plan, the internal rate of return of this operation is more than 6%. So 6% normally is a sort of limit. If internal rate return is under the 6%, it's not profitable for ESCO the operation. Over the 6% is profitable. So this is near to the limit, but is profitable for the ESCO, and all the operation have a net income around the 700,000 euro. So we have some picture about the buildings before and after the works. Many works actually were done, other are ongoing, for example in this building, and other are finished. And so actually we are in the first year of the contract. In the first year the ESCO have to done all to do all the works.
Yes, just to finish our presentation with the remark that since the project is over, has delivered all its output, which are public and available on the website. We also delivered some very nice brochures that are in the exposition, so you are free to come and pick up one copy for you. And okay, the last message is related to the process itself. 2020 Together is a very important project for our region. We learned a lot from that, and thanks to the European Commission for the support, of course, which was essential. But this comes inside a process that started several years ago. So the 2020 Together is not a standalone project. As I said before, it's part of the, it was built inside the framework of the Covenant of Major and the support that we are providing to municipalities. And so now that the project is over, we are going to develop new project ideas, we are trying to implement and to take the results of 2020 Together inside other projects. One or the most important now is Stepping Project, which is financed in Interreg MED area, which involves several countries, and the aim of the project is to implement new schemes, or let me say, to prove that APC is also an option for the MED area, which is not always the case so far. So we are trying to develop some new concept that is fitting also to this area. But I think our time expired. So thank you very much for your attention, and we are at disposal for questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Silvio and Stefano, for this very comprehensive presentation. I'm quite sure there are a number of questions. I will just ask you if you can please explain where you're coming from, give a short question, and that's it. And also wait for the microphone, because the session is actually recorded. So just wait for the microphone to speak in the microphone.
David Pearson of Star Renewable Energy from Scotland. Thank you for an interesting presentation. Clearly very, very clever, the work that's been done. I suppose, and this isn't meant to sound too critical, but it's an area I'm interested in, so I'm hoping you've got a good answer. You've made 24% energy savings and set up a 13-year long contract, but the broader challenge in Europe is to have closer to 80% savings within 20 years. Does this contract prevent further energy savings by shifting from technology? So if I understand it correctly, you've insulated buildings, put windows in that are better, changed gas boilers for more efficient gas boilers, but if the challenge is to be 80% lower energy in 20 years, what's going to happen? What are you going to have to do to take this program and move it forwards for the next phase?
So maybe I don't know if I catch exactly the question, but we would like to start with this. So the baseline was 24% of energy saving, but at the end it was delivered the project guaranteeing 60% of energy saving, which is quite challenging and goes towards deep renovation. And this is done thanks to structural investment, as you said, insulation of the envelope, change of boilers and so on, but also as a better management system implemented. So actually I think 35% of the savings will come from investment, hard investment, and then the ESCO is guaranteeing 60% thanks to a better operational management of the energy according to previous situation. I don't know.
How do you take the next 40% and what is the carbon saving of the
Yeah, okay. Okay, so 24%, it was the minimum that we required. Then they offered more than than the threshold that we fixed. So they went to 35-40% with investment, and then the other savings will come from a better management. Okay, the situation in Italy, generally speaking, is that public buildings are not managed in the correct way, so there is quite a huge waste of energy. It's not fair, but I think it's true. And so the ESCO committed itself in lowering this energy saving also thanks to the good management, better management.
Alexander Antonenko from International Energy Chart. We're dealing with energy performance contract as well. And on one of those slides, you mentioned that the baseline was based on the gas consumption and on operational management costs. My question is, why did you limit the scope of the EPC contracts only for gas and not including the electricity as well? Because in many cases, a lot of savings are achieved from electricity consumption, and sometimes the shift goes from gas consumption into the electricity consumption when you install the heat exchangers, for example, and ventilation systems. Yeah, thank you for this.
Yeah, good question. Of course, we discussed quite a lot about it. I will try to answer then if you can add something, Stefano. Okay, so one key point is that the sample of buildings we worked with were mainly school. And if we look at the energy bills, electricity is quite a low amount in comparison to thermal consumption. So if we had to face with office building, larger buildings for office, maybe we would have include electricity. But because we dealt with schools, this was not very interesting. And this is one answer. The other answer is that for electricity and for schools, the behavior of the users is less under the hand of the ESCO. That's what we think. Because when we say that we have to manage a space heating system, the ESCO can manage it properly because it is centralized. Everything is quite under control. Whereas for electricity, this is maybe true for lightning service. But you know, you have a lot of devices. There are some electric consumption which are not sure for a very long period. I mean, in a school they use a lot of electricity now because they have some laboratory, but maybe in 15 years this will not be the case. So we decided to keep it for several reasons which are not technical mainly. And the point that you raised, shifting from gas to heating exchangers, heat pumps, and so on, this was considered, and this happened because in some intervention, for example, the nearly zero energy building will receive a complete refurbishment of the envelope, but also a heat pump and a PV system on the roof. And so in this case, we asked the ESCO to install a new counter meter for electricity specific for the plant they are installing, so that there is always the possibility to count for the consumption.
Okay, if I may clarify another. So that's very good answer. But also, in order to achieve the best possible effect, is also because it's not only about the heating, it's also about the ventilation and about the amount of oxygen in the classrooms. So you may improve the efficiency only by reducing the amount of the ventilation, and therefore in many APC contracts they also include the ventilation as a part of the requirements for the heating in order to provide very good working conditions, especially for kindergarten, for schools, for etc. So did you include those requirements for your contract or not?
These were not included because in Italy generally schools doesn't have this system, unfortunately, and it was an option. It was not an option on the ground. But I believe and I know that this is what should be done, in most cases.
Thank you. Just a more general question. Was it hard to get private investment in this? How did you find the experience overall?
Yeah, I think European projects are useful for that because we are testing and we are piloting something that was not very experienced, and I have to say that there were not so many experience when we launched this tender, and it, yes, it was hard, and it was a kind of challenge, let me say. During the tender procedures, we launched an open call, and the open call was open for 90 days. And after 30 days, the ESCO that wanted to apply had to make a visit to the sites, which was compulsory, otherwise they couldn't deliver the offer. And we were approached by 27 ESCOs willing to or interested in the tender, and this was very surprising for us. Quite a very large number of investors interested in the tender, but at the end only 2 of them delivered an offer, which was also surprising because we had a large number. So it was a challenge. This was after the result, and we were lucky enough to receive this offer, and one of these offers was very good, even though also the other ones was not bad. The larger company did it, so it was Bosch Energy Solution company, the branch of Italy of the Bosch, and also Siram, which is another big player in Italy and also in France, I think they are operating. So yeah, it was a challenge, but this was the result, and I think these are also the players that are contending the market in Italy in other similar projects.
Eva Thanasakos from Athens, Greece. Do you have results from the interventions? Do you have any result yet?
Yes, as my colleague said, now, okay, we signed the contract 1 year ago. So this is the first year of the project, and in this year the ESCO is obliged to finish the works. So from contractual point of view, by April, all work should be certified, and so we don't have any results so far because we are starting the management part of the contract, which will last for 12 years for the next season, thermal season. So the results will come in at least 6 months. Yeah.
Can I ask another question also? How did you treat the different financing sources, like the subsidy from the government, the public subsidy, and the private money of the ESCO? How was this was taken care in the contract, and what is the effect on the results of the energy efficiency results?
Okay, the situation is like that. In the contract, we said that the private investor was free to get the funds, okay, by his own. So it was the risk of this part was completely on the shoulder of the ESCO. So we didn't care, let me say, about it. If the ESCO is good enough, we'll get these public funds. If not, it will be on its own risk. And the Italian law allow to get this fund for private investors if they have an EPC contract. So it was a risk that was shifted on the private, and so we were not dealing with that too much. The ESCO should do all the investment by his own finance, and if he is good enough, we will take other financial resources.
We will take 2 last questions, one over there and one over there. I don't know who wants to start.
Hi, this is Peter Waskis, Philips Lighting. I was wondering, you mentioned earlier at the beginning of your presentation that there was about 2 million in public street lighting, and I'm just a bit surprised that that amount doesn't sound very large when you're talking about Torino or municipalities around. Is there a reason why there was only a small part? Because the energy savings are very large on street lighting, and so it makes for a very good business case in general.
Yes. Yes, the reason is that we worked with small municipalities on that topic mainly, and only 3,000 light spots were tendered, and belonging to 6 municipalities, which were very broadly located. So it was quite tricky to award that tender. We launched one tender that didn't receive any offer, and then we launched again the tender. Yes, we went for a restricted procedures, and we received the offer, and now it is under assessment. So okay, it was a decision to focus more on buildings for the project, and for street light we went for that option, which was quite tricky because the number of light point was not so large, and belonging to several municipalities, it was difficult to create good conditions for the market and for the public authorities. Even though we know that 70% of energy saving is possible and a large investment, but for example, the capital city of Torino made a complete renovation of the street light system outside of this project, of course, with a private project, and everything was fine, of course. But if we deal with small municipalities, yeah, and we want to make this bundling, it's also tricky.
We'll take the very last question.
Christos Peolidis, Digi Competition. I was wondering what kind of prices have you used? I mean, you said, I mean, the main interventions were related, I mean, to heating, and so gas was used, from what I understood. So what, how do you, what will happen? I mean, if gas prices are changing, how do you, what do you, how were the contracts structured so that you, so that there is a, so that ESCO will receive, I mean, the money they want, I mean, over the 20 years period with fluctuating gas prices?
So the gas price is another trick point, and in the contract it is written that okay, the ESCO is in charge of paying energy bills since the contract is signed, and we said that the price is should be equal to the best price for public authority, which is awarded in Italy by the ministry. Okay, so there is a standard price for public authority, and we linked the price of this in this contract to that price. Okay, so for the ESCO it's not a way to make profit because the price for public authority is very low, is quite low because the tenders are very big, and this is another risk that we put on the shoulder of the ESCO. Because we said that the municipality have to pay not more than the best price for public authorities, and so this was. I know that ESCO doesn't like this because for them it's only a risk and not a way to make more profit.
Thank you very much. We are closing the session. I'm sure there are other questions, but you have the contact information also in the presentation. Thank you very much for attending this session.